Matt Del Vecchio here. You know, our population is aging, as we've talked about throughout the show today. Pain and chronic pain become a bigger and bigger issue as we age. It becomes something you live with, but it doesn't have to be that way. Understanding chronic pain and how movement, manual therapy, and mindfulness can really help regulate it. Well, I've asked Tamara Williams to stay on board, as this is also one of your specialties, Tamara. Tamara is an osteopath, holistic therapist, and rebound instructor, and the founder and director of Energetic Wellness Center. All right, Tamara, we're switching hats here. We're talking, as you just heard from the police, a little bit of pain and inflammation management. What do we do about it? So, I don't know about you, but when I wake up, I'm sore, and like the muscles are saying, hey, slow down there, big guy. You're just waking up and you're not young anymore. Well, Tamara, what is the normal amount of pain we should experience when we wake up?
That's a great question. And I think sometimes after I have all my clients come through, they go, wait a minute, that's not normal. And so back to your point with that question is that we should technically feel zero amount of pain. The reality is that life goes on and we get busy and we start to ignore the signals that our body's given us, right? And because inflammation and stress, if you will, isn't physical, you can't see it, right? It's hard to even know that your body's going through any stress, or call it the inflammation. So the normal amount of pain that you should have really should be zero.
Mm-hmm. Listeners are shaking their head. Oh, wait a minute. Come on. It can't be zero. But we're going to talk a little bit about how you can get the race to zero, I guess. Okay, Tamara?
Yes.
So, look, you see a lot of clients dealing with chronic pain. What's really happening in the body when someone is, in quotes here, inflamed?
So when we look at inflammation, I think we have to take a step back and look at stress, right? Because if we think about the body system, inflammation is supposed to be there to tell our body, wait, something's going on. So if I get a scratch or somebody comes in contact because somebody's coughing, I want to know my defense system, my immune system is going to wake up and be turned on. Now, what happens in that inflammation response is that, yes, it will react, and then its goal is to heal you. But when that system is going on for way too long, the third phase of the inflammatory response doesn't get triggered. And then that's where you all of a sudden start to have the ripple effect of symptoms, right? And that's basically your body saying, I'm tired. I don't want to keep going. And that's where all of a sudden your defense mechanism goes down. And that's when the chronic inflammation continues.
Interesting. Listening to Life Unrehearsed, got Tamara Williams in studio with me talking about pain and inflammation management. Now, what's interesting, you always talk about it like gentle movement. We talked about rebounding before. How can gentle movement actually help reduce inflammation?
So, most people would say, or I think the studies have shown that movement creates the release of endorphins, right? Which is great. That's the I feel good neurotransmitter, if you will. And so when you're moving, it also supports the ability for these neurotransmitters to communicate, which also means that your body is in a better situation to respond to life. And I think movement, everyone thinks I have to go to a gym, maybe I have to go and start training for a marathon. It's very simple. You can even just do as much as breathing, and that alone will move everything in your body, help bring in, let's call it unstuck movement, if you will, to ensure that, you're no longer feeling stagnant within yourself. So it is also looking at where the stress is coming from, what in your environment is also creating that stress, because pain and inflammation doesn't necessarily just look like a physical sensation, right? It could also just be somebody who's sad. Mm-hmm. Right. And if they continue and they're no longer to operate because they're, let's say, at minus 100 in terms of their energy tank, that also can look like pain and inflammation, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least transform into physical pain. So the movement piece is also ensuring it could be breath work, your diaphragm is moving. It's still creating some sort of movement, and then your body can move through the liquids. And I always make reference to the liquids because that's what inflammation is. It's movement, liquid that's stagnant. And so even as an osteopath, one of our principles is any liquid in your body that's not moving will create dis-ease, and that is, in hindsight, the inflammation.
Information right there. You know, it's so interesting. When we were talking in preparing for the interview, you said, Matt, I want to talk about food and nutrition as being part of pain management. I said, what? What's the connection there? So I'm intrigued. So food can play a role in pain management?
100%. I mean, most people will call it, nowadays we hear about IBS, Crohn's, all these different, even celiacs, right? But it's basically saying any food that you introduce into your body or environment will have a reaction. Our body will respond to that. And so if we look at, when I have my clients, one of the biggest things that we look at to ensure wellness, if you will, is how's your body reacting to food? Because then if it, let's say, call it food sensitivities. Some people will say, I have a gluten intolerance, right? But that triggers into the body. It means I can't break down the food that I'm eating. And so that stays into your body. And typically everything that we eat should get eliminated. And so if it stays in your body, that creates inflammation. And so what you eat is also important because it's supposed to nourish your body. We just sometimes don't know that we're allergic, if you will, to certain food groups. And even an allergy will still trigger the same immune response, which is that inflammatory response. So at the end of the day, it's definitely going to be the food. So more importantly, it's understanding what your body likes and doesn't like, and being able to, oh, I ate something and nope, that doesn't agree. Stay away from it, because really what that is inflammation in your body.
Talking with Tamara Williams, founder and director of Energetic Wellness Center. She's also an osteopath. You mentioned stress. Try to bring your stress levels down, which will actually help pain management. One last question, though. What's one thing listeners can start doing today to manage their pain naturally?
Drink water. It is the most free thing that we have nowadays, and we have great quality water considering. So if you can drink water, I would say that's the number one thing, because 90% of the world is just dehydrated, and we need that water to go through our connective tissues to help reduce a lot of adhesions in our body. So I like to say, if you drink enough water, things are going to be moving. It's like oiling that engine, right? So use the water to lubricate, and your joints and everything will function the way you want them to.
Well, great advice, Tamara, both on the pain management as well as the slips and falls. Thank you so much for coming into studio. It is indeed a family affair. Your daughter is here videotaping. Your mom is even in studio with us.
Is.
My daughter is here looking in the background as well. So, Tamara, so glad that you're very sandwich generation. You know,
it is.
You are.
It is. We got to take care of them all.
Congratulations on your success, and thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's Tamara. First of all, how can they reach you? Can they look at a website of your organization?
Absolutely. So we're located in the West Island, but we do service the island of Montreal. Our website is www.energetic.ca, and it's inner like your inner soul. So INNERGETIC.ca.
Excellent. That's Tamara Williams, founder and director of Energetic Wellness Center. Thank you.